welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 46. I am your host tonight. My name is Shorty, and I have a few beans on the line with me. Tonight we have Chewy. How you going, Chew?
I'm very well. How are you?
Pretty good. We also have Stu. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
That's the way. And finally made it, but you're here. Cracker, how's it going?
Very well, thank you, buddy.
Good to hear. Few internet troubles on your end, but
yeah,
should be
it
right.
happens.
Hopefully we'll get there.
Remember when that used to be you, Shorty?
Oh yeah, that was me every week. Now I get to laugh at everybody else.
Not me.
Yep. All right, so as we always say, every single week we have a jam-packed episode, and this week is so jam-packed that yesterday I did the show notes, and then this morning I remembered that half the topics we were meant to talk about weren't on the show notes. So we went from having a very busy show to a extremely busy show. So there's a lot going on in the world of Magic at the moment, and a lot of events and things have been happening and are coming up, as well as set releases and all that sort of exciting stuff. So yeah, we're gonna get into it and try and get through it as quickly as we can tonight. So before we do that, we better shout out our sponsor. So Stu, who are the lovely sponsors of our show?
Yeah, so great big shout out and thank you to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar for sponsoring the show and giving prize support for our leagues. You can find Josh and Pat's on Facebook. Just search them up, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Cards for everybody, auctions every day. Get into it.
Mate, that sounded like a proper spiel. We didn't even write that one down. Well done.
I did not.
You're getting good at this game.
Yeah, a little bit of practice under his belt, and all of a sudden he's a professional podcaster.
Oh, yeah.
with special auctions on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like the old monster truck ads, right? I like it.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. So it's been a couple of weeks since we ran our league finals, but hopefully you've had a chance to either tune in on the day or go back and watch the video. But we haven't recorded since then. So Chewy, do you want to give us a quick rundown on what happened and who took it down?
Yeah. So we had the top 3 finishes of each of our groups, played off into a top 12. There was with the first place winner, first place person from each group going straight through into the second round of the finals. The second and third battled, so we ended up with the top 8. And we had a really sort of diverse and interesting metagame. Everything from mono green to there was Grixis mutate decks, and it was a really interesting meta. Only a couple of Sultai decks, which was refreshing. But yeah, after a few hours, about 4.5 hours or so of us talking and people playing some, what has to be said was some pretty amazing skill level on display, right? Like there was some
really good games.
Absolutely.
Really good Magic played, and us poor chumps that were commentating didn't see half the lines that were available until they'd happened, and we had perfect information. So that's why they were in that position and we were not. But
We are garbage.
yeah. We had a Abzan Doom Foretold list facing off against a Teamer Flash list in the final, and Namburger took it down with the Abzan Doom Foretold, and that deck was spicy. There were the semi-final against, I believe, Benny R, where there was looping Murion and Charming Prince every turn, and like Benny R just like refused to die. But yeah, it was painful, but in a pretty sweet kind of way. Like it was death of 1,000 cuts sort of thing. So yeah, it was pretty cool, and it was a lot of fun to commentate. And there was a bit of a watch party set up on the Discord, and everyone was pretty active in chat.
Where I'm pretty sure they were just roasting us the entire time.
They probably were. They probably were, but for us, for the Beans, it was actually pretty exciting. It was the biggest stream that we've had as far as number of people watching. So shout out to everybody who tuned in. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll continue to do that. We were on the I think the second row on Twitch.
Yeah, we were top 8 on Twitch for a while. That was pretty cool.
That was fantastic. So really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed some excellent Magic that was being played with some really cool decks. Everybody, I think, had a great time, and the prize support was amazing, thanks to our mates at Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. And I loved it. And the next league kicks off in just a couple of weeks, which is great, just after rotation, which we'll get into later on in this cast, no doubt. But brand new format, brand new league, great prize support. We'll keep an eye out for that. There'll be more info on that. But what was your highlight of the league for you guys?
Group D, baby, right? All the way. First and second. And then whatever I came. But
amazing, right?
Yeah.
Group D, amazing. I didn't expect anything from Group D because
wow, thanks.
You guys were in there. But, to their credit, Namburger and Lunacy did well.
They did very well. As far as decks, that Grixis Mutate thing was just amazing. I played against it and lost horrendously during the week, and I was like, oh, tell me you're running that back and send me the list immediately, and they were, and man, it was so much fun to watch and commentate, and just there were so many lines, and it just kind of got to do its thing a couple of times, and it was unreal. It was just great to watch.
Yeah, very cool.
It's interesting, like during the group stage, everybody's playing different decks almost every week. Like it's very rare that people stick to the same deck, although I did, and I think you might have as well, Cracker, because you only own one deck. But you don't get to see. There's not as much interaction. You don't really get to see a meta game, that sort of stuff. And then getting to the finals, it was just so cool to see. Okay, these are the decks we're gonna have. We're gonna see, and there's some really cool, interesting lists there. It wasn't just all boring Sultai. And getting to see those decks play a few matches in a row was pretty cool, and that's something where maybe we can look at, I don't know, sort of highlighting a bit more during the group stage of trying to work out what people are playing, and maybe get a few more matches played on stream and things like that to pump up the group stage a little bit more.
Yeah, good idea. I'm down for that.
Yep, we'll figure it out. So, as Chewy said, the next league's kicking off. We'll be doing a live draw stream again on the 20th of September, although I haven't actually confirmed that with you guys, but we're locking it in right now.
I'm available.
Yes. So, make sure you go and register for that.
Where else are we going to be?
Exactly. Yep. We've got nothing else to do.
Exactly. Yep. So the link for all that will be in their show notes as always, and come and join us in our Discord so you can get in all the banter that happens in there and all the group rivalries and things like that. So you've got about a week and a half to get in there, and there'll be cash and boosters and all that sort of stuff up for grabs again. So speaking of extremely high level tournaments, just like our league, there is a Mythic Invitational on this weekend, actually, and I think this snuck up on almost everybody. I think, like Chewy, you didn't even know it was on at all.
No, I didn't. It wasn't until I read the show notes. I went, oh, is that this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, like, organised play's been a little bit all over the place since, obviously, the
last
Corona
15
stuff
years or so.
Well, yeah, there's that, but this year especially, like, it's just been... Yeah, it's been hard to know what's going on and when things are happening, and there's so many different things happening all over the place that it is very hard to keep track of. But this Mythic Invitational, I think this is actually a rebranded, rebranding of some other event.
Kind of. They ended up just cancelling a bunch of stuff because of the way it couldn't continue. They couldn't keep rolling invites forward and things like that. So it's sort of the PT and sort of a Mythic Championship and other things. So, they just kind of, my understanding is they axed a bunch and then kind of just shrunk it into this, and we have a Mythic Invitational.
Lumped them all together.
Yeah, so it's not quite like the other ones where it was like
a small
tiny group of like 24 or 36 players or whatever they had. And then they were super high value. This is closer to a traditional PT from a little while ago where people actually... for the most part, have qualified through different means. Don't ask me what those were. As for all I know, it's wizards with the bucket like I was doing, drawing names for the league. But there are
it's all genuine qualifications.
I'm sure, of course, it is.
Like players to a top eights and
absolutely,
all that sort of stuff from the past year.
Yeah, it's all the rivals and all of the other people as well.
Right? 161 players, so not as big as a traditional Players Tour or Pro Tour from the past.
Yeah, or like the old school ones.
400-ish.
Yeah, we're 400 to 500, so...
Yeah, so in between.
Definitely smaller.
But still $250,000 prize pool, right?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with that. I mean, it is spread pretty flatly. I think first place you only get 10 grand, which is fine. I'd be happy with 10 grand, but compared to previous events and things like the first Mythic Invitational, that was the one that Mengucci won.
Mm-hmm.
That was 250 grand, I think, that he won.
Yeah, that was $1 million prize pool total.
So now his prize is now split across everybody, but you come last place, you still get $1,000. So you can't really complain about that. It's a pretty flat prize curve, and yeah, you should be pretty happy to be playing in it. So yeah, we've got all the MPL players if you know who any of those people are, plus all the rivals again if you know who any of those people are, and then all the other people that are sort of qualified through various means throughout the year. So it's going to be a really stacked field of really, really good players, which makes for very good play and very good coverage and very good games and things like that. So if you do get a chance, it's probably worthwhile tuning in. Unfortunately for us, the time zones are a bit weird. Coverage is going to start. It's actually held over 4 days, this event. So it starts for us at 2 a.m. on Friday morning. So that's tonight. We're recording this on Thursday night. So that's in 5 hours, something like that. And yeah, it's obviously going to run through the night for us. So I don't know if there'll be like a replay during the day or not. But yeah, it's going to be the same time all weekend. So there's two days of Swiss rounds, and then the top 8, which is a double elimination bracket, is played over 2 days as well. So they're kind of stringing it out for some reason, I guess, maybe just to spend a bit more time on the matches and not have to sort of zoom around really quickly between games and things like that. So it could be interesting, but it's obviously all going to be run online through Discord and things like that again. So I wouldn't be expecting the coverage and the production value that we saw at the previous Mythic Championships and Mythic Invitationals. So
I thought you were going to say the coverage and production value at the Magic Beans Leagues finals.
Well, but, I don't think Wizards has quite got to that level yet. They might get there one day.
Oh, maybe. Like, because we could keep getting better, and the gap's getting wider and wider. So what format are they playing?
They're playing Historic. So, Stu, have you got the metagame open there?
I do.
Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on what the top deck is? I mean, for me, like going into this without looking at anything of the metagame, I could have told you what the top deck was going to be.
Yeah, so the top deck is, let's just call it Muxus. Whether it's mono red or the Rakdos variant, which literally splashes black for Thoughtseize. Yeah. Basically, a third of the field is Muxus.
Yeah, 33.8%. So 34%.
Well, there you go, a third of the field. And then coming in second, we'll have Sultai Midrange, and then Jund Sacrifice, and then a raft of others. But that's sort of your three main decks.
Yeah, I think everybody probably would have picked Goblins to be the top deck. It's been talked about for quite a while. I've been complaining about Muxus for forever.
Since it got printed.
Well, the ability to have a one-card combo is... Yes. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, like we've had the conversation before. It's not it's beatable. There are ways around it, but it's a one-card combo.
Even if it's a one-card combo and it goes off 50% of the time, then that's still a really good thing. But I think what the Goblins deck does well is it is a perfectly good mono red or red splashing Thoughtseize aggressive deck on its own, and then just has that button, right? So it's not it's not purely reliant. You can't just sit there with an Ether Gust up or something and wait for the Muxus, because if you just do that,
they put it on top and draw it next turn and kill you then.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. But you're being beat down by a whole bunch of tokens with some lords out, like tried and true Goblin strategy that's been around forever, and there's some powerful Goblins in Historic. So what are the decks that beat Goblins then? Because in this sort of situation, in high level tournaments, historically, pardon the pun, I did try that pause was trying to figure out a different word to use, so I didn't make the pun, but I went with it. The pros will go into their, the little testing bubbles, online testing bubbles, no doubt nowadays, and they'll start jamming a whole bunch of games to, figure out which deck comes out the end of it. And either they will just play what is the consensus best deck, and 33% of them have landed on that, or they'll play something that they, at least they believe, has a good matchup against that. Like, if there's a target, if you know what the target is, Goblin's got a, big crosshair on it, then, you can go after it. There's a lot of tools at your disposal. Like, Historic is not a small card pool. Like, there's a lot of cards.
It's massive now.
Yeah, exactly. So, is the Sacrifice deck the answer? Is the Sultai deck the answer with, a number of sweepers and card advantage and that incremental, mid-range control strategy? Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. I really hope we don't see, 6 Goblin decks in the top 8. That would be disappointing.
Shorty does.
For your and Shorty's sake, I was going to say, no, Teferi's banned, isn't he? I was going to say, if we go a 4-4 split, but then
which is a real shame.
Yeah.
It's not really.
In a format of Goblins, Teferi's probably not that good anyway, but it's...
Yeah, I listened to LSV's podcast today. He's got the Constructed Resources podcast, which if you don't listen to Constructed Resources and you play Constructed, you definitely should get onto that. Not quite as good as, the Magic Beans podcast. The caliber of our pro level players on this podcast are not quite, LSV and Andrew Beckstrom. They're not quite up to the same level as us. But
catch up, mate. Catch up.
Yeah, but he was saying the same thing. Like, they've tested and determined that Goblins is the best deck, and a lot of them have gone with the Jund Sacrifice deck because they think it has a pretty good Goblins matchup, but it's still not, like, he wasn't willing to say it's, I'm 60% against Goblins. It's like, I feel like I've got a good matchup, and there's going to be so many Grafdigger's cages getting played in people's sideboards for this weekend to try and shut down Goblins. And it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I know, like, the Sultai mid-range decks, they've got you've got Extinction Event, and what's the -3? No, there's a -3/-3 one, like, where you choose a creature type.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called.
Yep. Out of the Eldraine set. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of that getting played, so people can wipe their opponent's side of the board but keep their own creatures and things like that. One deck I've heard people talking a fair bit about is the mono black Godpharaoh's Gift deck, because they were expecting a lot of people to be running Grafdigger's Cage as their graveyard hate. That doesn't actually shut down Godpharaoh's Gift.
No, you exile the creature, don't you?
Yeah, you're exiling the creature out of your graveyard and you're putting a token into play. So it doesn't actually shut it down. So
did you just get a little tingle then, Cracker, at that last couple of sentences? With Grafdigger's Cage doesn't work.
It feels pretty good when people play that early on and they go, haha, I got you. And you're like, nope, I don't. Anyway.
So
I'm surprised, though, with LSV and the idea that Jund is really good. Like, I agree it's good against Goblins, and then not bringing in Cage because, that defeats the purpose of the Muxus plan. But it turns off the Cat Oven combo, and it also turns off Bolus's Citadel. So what are they trying to do? Like, just Thoughtseize and Abrade it away?
Yeah, you're just playing into the hate that people are bringing in, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we all know that the Cat Oven is just, it's super powerful, right? And if you can get it going with, devils and things, and it's pretty easy to run away with the game. But it feels like you're playing into that kind of expected metagame hate, which I find interesting.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, because they're playing Collected Company in the Jund list as well. Yeah. So I don't know if maybe they
first into it.
Yeah, maybe they just side out and they just sort of go a creature value plan.
Maybe Mayhem Devil is so good with against the Goblins deck, which
Mayhem Devil with Priest still works, like when there's Grafdigger's Cage, so you can still sort of control the board. You can still ping down a bunch of their dudes. You've still got your Woe Strider again, so you can sacrifice a bunch of dudes and ping down their board. So
I haven't seen I haven't seen their deck list. So they're playing what's the 3-mana sorcery that returns 2 creatures? One gets menace and one gets
Death Dweller?
Touch?
No.
Yeah, Call of the...
Oh, okay. Because the Death Touch counter on the Devil is pretty good. So, maybe it's a bit too cute. I don't know, but when you get that happening, it's some good value. But yeah, I guess we'll see. But the Godfarer's Gift, the mono black list seems pretty good. I was just saying precast. I've been playing a blue black version, my own brew, and there was on ladder, in the historic ladder. There's a lot of goblins. There's a lot of mono red aggressive decks, which I'm interested to see what their matchup is against goblins. I honestly don't know which deck would be better. They're playing that goblin that pings everything when it comes into play, so maybe they do have a good matchup. But Massacre Worm of a Godfarer's Gift seems pretty sweet if you can live long enough to get that. So maybe that's the plan that we might see rise to the top if there's Jund Sacrifice decks and a lot of X2 or smaller creatures running around. Dropping a Massacre Worm can have a pretty big effect, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, yeah, coverage starts in a few hours, so probably your coverage would have already started before anyone even gets to listen to this podcast. But tune in and check it out. And, hopefully we get some good matches and some good coverage this weekend. And, that might help influence what you want to play in another event that's on this weekend that is almost as prestigious as a Mythic Invitational. So what is that, Chewy? You've been pioneering this one or pushing this one?
No, it's historic, not pioneer.
I left that open for you.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. There was some discussion on our Discord, and there was a couple of weeks in between our leagues. So I thought, let's not have a rest. Let's keep running events. And, we are running a 1-day historic event through our Discord and Challonge. And that kicks off at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, the 12th of September. So this coming weekend. Entry is free. I'll repeat that. It is free entry and there are prizes. So shout out to our sponsors, A Game with Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar for making that happen, and we've got some codes from our creator program and whatnot as well. So I think at last count let me just refresh the page. I think we had 20.
Yeah, we're at 20, I think.
Yeah, so we've got 20 and there's still a few days to come in. So pretty excited by that. The way that we're going to run this event is we'll do Swiss rounds, but we won't do a cut to a finals bracket. We'll, try to give people their Saturday evenings to spend with friends and family, but prizes will be based on your record. So, with 20 players, we're probably looking at 4 rounds. Maybe are we into the 5 rounds by then? Maybe 4 rounds. But, if you go XO, you'll get, a set of prizes and it'll cascade down from there. So, it should be really fun. And, we've seen some deck lists, so people can either just play their brew or they can try to metagame against some decks being played at the Mythic Invitational. We'll see how we go, but so sign up for that. The Shorty, if you could put the link to the event in the show notes, and the event. I've said Shorty will put that in the show notes. I don't know how many times. I think that's the first time you've agreed to do it. So
it's already in there. It's fine.
Excellent. And then off that event is the link to our Discord where you will have all of the pairings and the general banter and shenanigans on the day. So I'm really looking forward to that. Should be a bit of fun and play some historic. Get on it.
Cool. All right. Our next thing we're just going to get through pretty quickly, but we saw, Wizards did a big announcement event. I think that was actually at the Command Fest or something like that. But they started off the previews for Zendikar Rising, which is the next set, which we're going to start getting into in a minute. But they also announced the next year, effectively, worth of sets. So Wizards sort of always, they have code names for their sets, and they're always different random things that that don't have any relevance to what the actual set is. And then, it seems sort of once a year they go, okay, these are the sets that we're going to for the next year, or the places we're going to, and get, people hyped about what's coming up. So we're just quickly going to go through what's coming out next year. So the first set of the year will be called Kaldheim, which apparently is a Viking-inspired set, which could be pretty cool. Stu, you've got a little bit of a Viking look, and you're also a Minnesota Vikings fan, so I'm
looking forward to it.
Now
that I know about it, I only found out about this tonight, and I'm excited.
I'm wondering if it's going to be, if we're going to see the return of snow permanence when we go to a world that's full of snow. So that could be interesting.
I've got a prediction.
Yes.
A new set of gods.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that makes sense.
Yep. Wouldn't be surprised.
And some equipment that's a sweet hammer. That'll be good as well.
So the set after that is going to be called Strixhaven, which is Strixhaven, the School of Mages. So it is I don't know, Harry Potter.
I guess Hogwarts was taken, right? Yeah.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see, but I'm tipping we see a lot of mechanics like probably rebound, maybe like flashback, those sorts of spell-based mechanics would be pretty cool to see coming back in a set like that. But
the original
that should be pretty cool.
Cracker, the original Teferi card was he was a student, so it could just be another Teferi set.
I mean, I hope so.
You can feel the sarcasm dripping off that statement.
You could.
No, just give me like flash bounce Teferi. Don't give me any of these stupid broken planeswalkers.
Oh yeah, like the blue and 2, 3, 4
OG one.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah.
Back when he was just a creature and didn't have his spark.
Correct. Yeah, I like it.
That's it. Sounds actually sweet. I love spell slinging, so
it should be cool.
That's kind of awesome.
Yep. The set after that is actually going to be a Dungeons and Dragons themed set. It's an adventure in the Forgotten Realms. So if you don't know, Dungeons and Dragons is actually owned by Wizards of the Coast, who make Magic the Gathering. So it's all the same intellectual property, I guess, but they've always sort of been separate worlds.
Well, we saw a Ravnica D&D campaign like a year ago or something.
We've had a few crossovers recently, and we'll get into it soon when we get into Zendikar, but one of the mechanics from Zendikar very much has a Dungeons & Dragons feel to it. So, I'm tipping we start to see, like we saw recently, a Bag of Holding, as an artifact card. Mm-hmm. I'm tipping we'll see a few different things like that have those references to Dungeons and Dragons and the creatures that you see in the D&D world. So that one should be pretty cool. We don't have a release date for this next one, but Chewy, I think you should be pretty excited about this. Time Spiral Remastered.
I am excited by this, but I need more detail. So I'm excited, but I could be like, oh, sweet, Time Spiral's good, nostalgia set, I like that. Or if it's just like we've seen on Arena with Amonkhet Remastered, where it was just like, here is a whole bunch of the Time Spiral cards that we, all know and love, Tarmogoyf, like reprinted and affordable and potentially in a great draft format as the first one was. I'm really, really looking forward to that. I like the Time Spiral card frame. Not everybody does. I get that. But if I see a reprinted Tarmogoyf, like out of one of the, Modern Masters sets or something, it looks so strange to me. Like, that's not what Tarmogoyf looks like, right? Yeah. So I hope we get that. And like Time Spiral, for those, won't go into the lore, but there were a whole bunch of cards that were, functional reprints of cards in a different color.
Yeah, color shifted.
Color shifted, yeah. And then we had time shifted cards where they were cards print. So the character or the event had a fork in the road, if you like. The Acroma, as an example, where there was a point in Acroma's life where she could be all like truth and justice, or she could be like revenge, and there was a red Acroma. So it was a cool bit of alternate timeline flavor there, and some cool cards as well. So I'm looking forward to it very much so. So I loved the set. We've seen a couple of like pre-preview cards in Chalice of the Void and Path to Exile.
They're in old borders as well, which they've never done before. So they're actually taking cards that have like modern borders and have put them in like old frames. So like Chalice is in the original like brown bordered artifact frame, which is pretty sweet. So
I will be replacing the. I know this isn't a sales thread, but I have 2 foil Chalice of the Void that I will sell to finance.
Just put them in the buy and sell. Page with the Discord.
I'm really looking forward to those for my Eldrazi Tron deck that I never get to play. But yeah, it's I love that card, and the old bordered artifacts are much better than the new bordered artifacts. Just saying.
Yep. So we'll get into that set a bit more as it gets closer. But yeah, it will be on Magic Online and in paper, but it won't be on Arena, which is unfortunate. But should be pretty cool. So hopefully we'll get some more previews of those next year sometime.
Hopefully it's far enough away that we can, when it comes out in paper, we can actually play it in paper.
Yeah, that would be nice. The other one they announced was Modern Horizons 2, which is interesting. Like after Modern Horizons 1 came out and it completely destroyed Modern for a while with how many broken cards they printed in there, they've decided to go back to it. But this time they had some pretty well-known players actually come and do a little stint at Wizards to, I guess, help play test and not really design cards. I don't think they were really involved in the designing, but definitely helping play test and figuring out what's broken and that sort of stuff. So they actually had Brad Nelson, Sam Black, and BBD, or Brian Braun-Duin, come and do a little stint at Wizards, which if you've listened to the Bash Bros podcast, they sort of talk about that on there, which would have been pretty cool for them to see the other side of it. But yeah, hopefully it means the set's not going to be too broken and have too many crazy cards in it. And they did announce with it that they are reprinting the enemy fetch lands in that set. So I don't think that's going to make much of a dent in terms of prices on the enemy fetches, but it's just good that they are going to be there again. So pretty cool.
I think that's a good thing with like Verdant Catacombs and Scalding Tarns and things. They are very expensive and hard to come by.
Yep.
I don't want to go on too big of a tangent, but we had play design, we had play test, we had pro players, former pro players, and they gave us Oko. So I am worried. I am worried equally worried as I am excited by seeing these names next to this this set. It could be the best thing ever, or it could be more Okos. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, who knows? All right, so that's what's coming up for Magic for the next year. There's also like Commander previews, which I think actually start like tomorrow or something for the next lot of Commander sets that are all coming out. And no doubt there's going to be a million Secret Lairs and then other ancillary products and things like that. But yeah, lots and lots of products, and we'll be covering them all as they all come out. So plenty to be excited about.
There's been the 2 full Commander Companion decks released yesterday or today that go with Zendikar.
Nice.
So they've got only 4 new cards each. I can't remember what they are. We can talk about it at some other point. But they're only doing 2, but they are directly tied to the Zendikar set. So they're like landfall based and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, cool. All right. So, speaking of Zendikar Rising, we've been talking about it for a little while and sort of hinting about it. I think on the last cast, we talked about the Planeswalkers that have been previewed. Well, now the set is here. It actually comes out next week. So, we're going to spend a bit of time sort of going through that. So, Cracker, you are always our mechanics person.
I am.
You can take us through what we can expect to see in Zendikar Rising.
Okay, so there are 4 distinct mechanics that we have in this set. The first one Shorty alluded to earlier, and it's called Party. And so Party refers to a creature type that is on the battlefield under your control, and it is the following creature types. It is a cleric, rogue, wizard, and warrior. Have you guys ever played D&D? I mean, given the multiple campaigns I've played with both Shorty and Chewy, I know the answer to that one.
Yes.
Those are the fundamental types of, quintessential D&D characters
out there,
right?
Man. Sad druids.
Yeah,
druids.
Whatever. Druids, it's fine.
Where's the bard?
The bard, yeah. So that's basically it. So there will be different effects that take place based on the number of party members that you have in play. So it's to do with the type. So it doesn't matter if you've got like 6 warriors usually, or and 2 clerics, it'll say, this spell costs you X less for each party member you have. So it would be like 1 for your cleric and 1 for your warrior. So there will be a bunch of different things, and it always refers to those 4 creature types. So cleric, rogue, wizard, and warrior. Unsurprisingly, they're very heavily represented in all the different sorts of, humanoid creatures. So there's vampires and elves and, humans and all that kind of stuff. So that's interesting. And obviously they're sewing it in advance of the D&D set, which is a little ways off. So that's kind of cool.
But you have to have individual creatures. So you can't have, like, if I've got a
correct
elf warrior rogue, that doesn't count as 2, does it? I need a warrior.
No, so you can't have
rogue.
So if you're playing an older format and you've got like a changeling in play, it doesn't count towards all of them.
Yep.
So it is like I said, it's not duplicates of the same type, and it's distinct creatures. Yes.
Yeah, interesting mechanic. I don't know how strong it's going to be in constructed, because there are, like you said, there's the things that sort of give you a discount for each party member. They're probably pretty good, but then there's some cards that require you to have what they call a full party. So you have to have all 4 of those types, and if you've already got 4 creatures of different types on the battlefield and then you're getting some discount or some extra effect on a card, it'd want to be really good, but you're probably already in a pretty good position that it doesn't make a huge difference. So
this feels like the set's draft format, like flagship draft format, right? Draft archetype, sorry. Yeah. And look, it could be good. Allies was good. And, synergies in drafting is always good. But, and it's, like you said, there's a elf, warrior, rogue or whatever it is. Like, there's enough creature types represented there to make it happen in limited. So yeah, could be good. Interesting to keep track of in paper again.
Yeah, it can be much easier on Arena.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And like you said, having that crossover with D&D, like laying that foundation for the D&D set later on, should make it pretty interesting.
So the next mechanic is a returning favourite of a lot of people, and it is Kicker. So Kicker is it's on creatures, it's on, non-creature spells, and it's an additional cost. It's usually an additional mana cost. Sometimes it's colourless, sometimes it's more of like the same colour, sometimes it's a different colour, sometimes it can be even things like sacrificing a creature, but it will give you an effect. So the creature might say, like 2 and a green for a 2/2, but if you pay a kicker of 3 and a green, so the total cost is 5 maths. How does it work? 3 to 6. What did I say? Did I say 2 and a green or 1 and a green? Whatever.
Maths is for blockers.
It's exactly. It's gonna come in with like 3+1+1 counters on, as an example. So it will give you some additional effect. It may cause an opponent to like sacrifice a creature or discard a card or something like that. So Kicker's really cool. It's kind of like cycling. Kicker's really, really old as far as mechanics go. I think it's one of the earliest ones they introduced, and it works really nicely because it gives you, like a 2/2 early in the game, and then like a 5/5 or a 6/6 later on in the game when you can pay your kicker cost. So
it scales well with the game. That extra effect is handy. Yep. But you can only pay that kicker cost once. So we have Correct. Had in the past a
multi-kicker
mechanic called multi-kicker, which you can pay it as many times as you want. But when it's just normal kicker, you can only pay that cost once. And it doesn't affect the converted mana cost of the spell, does it?
No, it doesn't. We actually looked this up the other night when we were playing some Commander.
I know it's come up a few times in my Commander deck.
Yeah, the CMC is always the cost of the spell in the top right hand corner. So it's an additional cost. So it also means that people can't do things like Disdainful Stroke, a spell that costs 3 normally, but you're paying 6 for it because Disdainful Stroke only counters things that have got CMC 4 or more, for example.
Yep.
So it's that kind of effect. So we also have the return of double face cards. So it's been a little while since we've had some of these. There's been the Ixalan flip cards are the last ones I can think of.
Yeah, like the blue enchantment
Search
that
for
turned into a land.
Yeah, the ones that flipped into lands.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the most recent iteration. These ones are a little different. They're called non-modal. So when you draw the card, it has, either there's a lot of spell on the front and then land on the back. Seems to be the most common of all of these double face cards that I've seen. And you get to pick one of those sides and do that thing. You don't get to do both. If you cast it as a spell, it resolves, it goes to the graveyard. It is a spell in your graveyard. If you choose to put it into play as a land, it is a land. There are a bunch of effects that make you return lands to your hand in this set as well. Synergy, I know. So then once you pick it up again, you can cast it as the spell instead of playing as a land. So again, it's those kind of effects where you can have the spells all seem to be, for the most part, slightly overcosted, I think.
I think that they need to be if they
Sure.
weren't overcosted, because having something
they're a land as well, right?
Yeah, it kind of warps one of the fundamentals of Magic otherwise. So they need to tack at least a mana onto each of those spells, I think.
Yeah. So you can pick it up and, play it as the spell later on if you don't need the land. So again, versatility, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Actually,
they have a front face though, don't they?
They do all have a front, yes.
Yeah.
And so they're always this, from what I've seen, all of the ones I've seen so far are spells on the front and then lands on the back.
Except for the double land ones.
Except for the double land ones, yes. So all the ones that are different types, yeah. Which means that people can, with discard effects, take it out of your hand because it's not a land while it's in your hand.
Yep.
It's only a land when you put it into play as a land.
Yep. Yeah, so if you've got if you're playing Uro, so I'm looking at a card that's Valakut Awakening, so it's 2 and a red, an instant, put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. So that's just a normal spell. That's the face of the card. So if you're searching your library for an instant or sorcery spell, that's what you get. I believe if you flip it off of Escape to the Wilds or something like that, I'm not 100% sure how that works, but I think you can only cast the instant side of it. But if you play an Uro and it says put a land from your hand into the battlefield, this doesn't actually count as a land. It only counts as a land when you're putting it on the battlefield like playing a normal land. So it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of stuff works, and I think it's going to take people a little while to get used to how that works.
That is confusing because, thinking back to our topic about historic, Explore says you can play an additional land this turn.
Yeah, so that's a different effect.
Different
that's
though.
letting
you
play.
Yeah, so putting a land into play off the Arboreal Grazer or Uro versus playing an additional land.
Yeah.
It's very similar. There's a bit of a nuance there.
And that's where people, you're only going to do it once and then you're going to go, oh, okay, that's weird. And then, you might do it the second time and go, oh, okay, all right, now I understand how this works. And then you're fine. But
what happens if I do it a third time?
Well, then you're out.
Is that like Beetlejuice?
Arena dies.
Arena just
says you can no longer
uninstalls.
play.
Cracker gets all your wild cards.
in.
I don't have any.
Yeah.
Any of the ones that matter anyway.
Yeah.
So with the ones that, the lands that are double-faced, how do they work?
So you mean the ones that are either, let's just talk about that quickly. There's a cycle of rare lands in this set that are like a plains on the front and a mountain on the back. And you can choose to put them into play on either side. But that's it. So it's a land in your hand at that point as well, because it's a land on both sides.
Yep.
And they come into play untapped.
But they don't actually have the land type, do they? They're not actually a mountain or a plains, which is a little bit annoying.
Yeah, they're named and they tap for a red or a white mana or whatever it is.
Yep.
I'm a little underwhelmed by them, I got to tell you.
Those lands specifically, or
that cycle.
Yeah, okay.
They enter tapped as well, is that right?
No, they don't.
No, they don't?
There's some that do, some of the spell ones
specifically
do.
the rare land cycle where it's one of a land on both sides and you choose mountain or plains effect, right? They enter untapped.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Which is why they're rare, but they don't really fix your mana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's why Shorty was talking about if they had a land type, if you could fetch them, they would be a lot more powerful. And so I am also a little underwhelmed by them, but
kind of. They're still less powerful than a shock.
Yes, they're definitely less powerful than a shock.
Even if you could fetch them, they'd be significantly less powerful than a shock.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, I guess that will play out as it does, and that's kind of an aside.
We all complain about power creep, and then when they don't have something with power creep, we complain about that too. We are Magic players. What can I say?
It's tricky, right? And while we're chatting about lands, we should talk about the final mechanic in this set, which is landfall, which is from OG Zendikar, not the Battle for Zendikar nonsense, where it was whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, an effect will happen. So a lot of the time it will be like your creature gets +2/+0, or, you put a +1/+1 counter on something, or, there's just a bunch of different effects that can happen based on a land entering the battlefield this turn, which is cool. Landfall is a really popular mechanic, powerful, tends not to be busted, and just fun to play with. And it means things like Fabled Passage they're always a super good card anyway, but it goes right up in value because you can, fetch for a basic land mid-combat and it's a pump spell or something like that. And so Landfall is back, and that's cool. I'm happy to see it.
I like Landfall. Yeah, I'm going to have to put my commander deck back together. Looking forward to it.
Oh, dude, that deck is good.
Math. So good. All right, sorry.
So, one of the extra things they sort of announced when they announced Zendikar, I don't think we've spoken about this at all actually on the podcast, but there's a new style of boosters that are coming out with this set, which are called set boosters. So we now have draft boosters, which are your traditional normal booster, like you've been used to opening for ages. You then have your set booster, which is a new one, and then we've also got the collector's boosters, which we've had for a while, which are the ultra premium, the ones that Chris buys heaps of.
No, there's also the VIP boosters, right?
Is it? What's a VIP booster?
Aren't they VIP collector's boosters?
Yeah, isn't there like collector's boosters and then like VIP collector's boosters?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think this is like when they introduced having mythics. Rares used to be really good. Now we have mythics. Now we've got that for boosters. Wow.
For the normal people that are actually going to buy this stuff, not buying $100 packs, the set boosters are kind of like the way Wizards sort of talked about it in their article is the feedback they get from a lot of people is that, like people like me, I buy a box every set. I usually buy a box and a bundle, and I'm cracking it because it's fun to crack the packs, but I'm kind of trying to build up my collection. And what you end up with is you just have tons of excess commons that are completely worthless, and that's not really what I want and what they want from their customers, because you kind of get left with that feeling that you're almost sort of wasting their money. So they've come up with these set boosters that are designed to fill that gap, where you're still getting a booster with, I think it's 14 or 13 cards, something like that.
14 cards.
Yeah, but you're getting more, less commons and more foils and more slots in that booster for the ultra rare stuff and the showcase artwork and that sort of stuff. So they're slightly more expensive. I think I paid $175 for my box on pre-order, whereas it's normally $145 or $150 for a normal draft.
It's about $1 more a pack.
Yeah, which is not bad. And yeah, you have more chance at getting the good cards that you want, and you're going to get more of the uncommons and all that sort of stuff to sort of fill out your collection better quicker with the cards that you actually want for constructed play. Because if you look at most standard decks, they're predominantly taken up with minimum uncommons, like uncommons, rares, and mythics, and there's not that many commons that really get played heavily. So what you really want is those higher rarity things. So I think from what I've heard, if you're wanting to buy cards to build a proper collection for playing tournaments and things with, or you're wanting to get the most value, this is probably where you should be putting your money rather than into the draft boosters. And draft boosters are more if you actually intend on getting your mates together and drafting them. So yeah, interesting. I don't know what you guys think of this product.
I want to see some boxes cracked first to just see how the distribution actually goes.
Yeah.
Like they give you percentages in the announcement of how, the distribution, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I did order just today. I pre-ordered my set booster box, so I'm down with it. I think it's a good idea, and I'm keen to see how it goes. And look, if I'm opening packs and what's in them is better, then that feeds that enjoyment, right? Like I'm like you, where I love getting that box and getting a playmat out on the kitchen table and have my 6-year-old sit next to me, and we go through the cards.
That's my favourite bit. Cracking packs with the kids.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of fitting that gap. Like I look at, like I'm happy to pay my money for a booster box every set, but I don't want to lash out for a collector booster. For me, that's too much. That's beyond what I'm willing to pay for a box of cards.
Yeah, it's a good middle ground.
Yeah, and this fits right in the middle where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm happy to pay a little bit extra, but I'm also getting a bit extra, and it feels like it's actually worth it. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The other thing that is coming in those packs is the last card in the pack is, the sort of standard token or an ad card like you get in a normal booster. So that's the 14th card in the set. Every booster, there is a 25% chance, so 1 in 4 chance, which is pretty good, that card is actually replaced with a card from what they're calling the list, in inverted commas, of rabbit ears. And the list is this set of 300 cards from all of Magic's history, obviously except for the reserve list. Well, we assume, assuming that they're not putting reserve list up. So a couple of
quick highlights from the list that jump out is Enlightened Tutor.
Yep.
And Land Tax in white. There's a couple of cards that I actually want, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a whole heap of good cards in here.
All right, Stu, I just have one question for you.
Yes.
Why are you casting white spells?
Sometimes I like to cast white spells.
Okay.
I cast a white Honden in my 5-color deck just because I need extra things. But there's some
but
cool
Enlightened
cards
Tutor
like
is very important.
Warp World, Scred Shorty, Extinction, Pact of Negation. There's a lot of, Cryptic Command is in there, Wise and Send, Entreat the Angels, Eldrazi Displacer. It's some of the white cards. It's actually colourless. Come on, Wizards, sort it out. And, Riptide Lab, Eldrazi Temple. It's cool, be a nice little
cool
little bonus to get. So
yeah, well, the other thing with those cards is they're actually printing them in the original, card frame. So if it's old bordered and that sort of stuff, it's printed with the old border. So it's literally like you're opening a pack of new cards, but you've got that chance of pulling something really old. So yeah, should be pretty cool. And again, once we've sort of got the boosters in our hands and crack the packs, we'll sort of let you know how we go and if we get anything good. So let's actually get into the previews because I think we've actually almost got the full set previewed now. What are we at? 270 of 280, so there's only 10 cards left to go when we're recording this, and probably in the next 10 minutes they'll all be out. So it's we're a little bit late to the party with our recording every fortnight, but any cards you want to discuss? I think Cracker, you've got quite a few that you wanted to sort of talk about.
I just kind of sorted the list by rarity and had a look through to see what jumped out at me. Look, there's some sweet ones, like we always talk about. There's some cards that we hope see play and don't expect. I do have one that I think will see play. So it is called Seagate Stormcaller. So it's 1 and a blue for a creature. It's a human wizard, right? Wizard, special creature type. It also has a kicker of 4 and a blue. And it says, when Seagate Stormcaller enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less you cast this turn when you cast it. If Seagate Stormcaller was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies. So it's kind of like a Snapcaster Mage, which is a really good card. It's not as good, obviously, but Snapcaster's probably too good.
Yeah, this doesn't have flash.
You got to have the spell.
No, it doesn't.
In your
But what it does is it turns your removal spell for 4 mana into a 2/1 and 2 removal spells.
It's a value card. It's not the power of Snapcaster, but it's a.
Well, Snapcaster's mostly a value card as well.
Yeah, but this isn't on the same power level.
I'm not saying it's Snapcaster. I said if you're looking for
you said Cracker. This card is as good as
it's
Snapcaster.
It's a Snapcaster in that it's blue and a 1 for a 2/1. That's pretty much where the comparisons stop. Yeah, but
sorry, Cracker.
Sure,
keep going.
Sure. No, it's fine.
So what are you copying with this?
It.
Like in Vintage, I'm copying Time Walk. But what are you copying?
Like removal spells or card draw.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that it doesn't have flash is a problem, right? Like that, it would be obviously significantly better. But if you get to the fact that you can kick it also, does a lot later on as well. So you're not just top decking a 2-mana 2/1 that kind of doesn't have much of an impact. So I think it will see play because it fills out the curve nicely and can let you do multiple things on a turn. And if you are, like a control deck or a tempo deck, then that's kind of all you want to be doing.
Yep. No, I think if there is, and, we'll talk about rotation, but if there's a blue-red, like Ralzaric-esque spells deck out there, in the next format, then this will definitely be a key card. Just copying on turn 4, going this into 2 lightning strikes or whatever, is a bit of a one-sided wrath at that point in the game, probably. So pretty good.
Yep. I tell you what you can copy with it, right, is a card called Feed the Swarm, which is 1 and a black for a sorcery. It says destroy target creature or enchantment that an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's converted mana cost.
So that's enchantment removal in black.
Targeted enchantment removal.
So that's the first time we've seen this in the history of Magic, right? This is actually...
we only recently got the sacrifice effect in black.
Yeah, that was Farika's Libation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. What colour pie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, like 1 and a black, kill a creature. I mean, it's obviously not Doomblade because you lose life equal to its CMC, but it's also common. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that one because the fact that it's broken the colour pie completely, and that annoys me.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that card. I share that with you. So an enchantment that you could destroy with this is one of the cards I wanted to talk about. I think this is something that will see some constructed play in Standard. It is Felidar Retreat, and it's 3 and a white for an enchantment. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. The first one is create a 2/2 white cat beast creature token. The second option is put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. So
I'm sorry, each creature?
Each creature you control.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can see, a couple of potential homes for this. If there's a sort of a mid-range or an aggressive white-based deck that wants to put +1 counters on things like we've seen with the mono white decks already that occasionally crop up in the metagame. But there could be like a Bant ramp style mid-range deck that could really use this. So think about, that ramp style shell that we've seen that is around, and it's got Uros and other cultivates and things like that, and you can just create an army. Not anywhere near the power level of, say, Field of the Dead, obviously, but a similar sort of fixed effect of that where you don't actually have to play any other win condition in your deck. You can just play this thing and just keep making creatures and making them big. So, yeah, I think this this has got potential to be in multiple decks, and we'll see constructed play is my prediction.
Yeah, I don't
Looks like
see
there's
it.
a pretty good Amazon shell for it in Standard.
Abzan Shell, yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
There's a lot of +1/+1 synergies in both green and black, and obviously this in white as well. So it looks like there's going to be pretty strong, plus probably multiple versions of +1/+1 counters matter.
Yeah, I sort of look at this card and go, all right, you play it on turn 4, it does nothing, and then you've got to have your 5th land drop to do something. If you're playing a ramp strategy, or you don't have the creatures to be putting the counters on, so on your 5th turn, if you've got a land, you're getting 1/2/2. Yeah, I don't see this. I mean, it might. Who knows?
I don't know. I remember people having the same conversation when Field of the Dead was spoiled, but not that this is on the same power level.
No,
but
it's just nowhere near.
but we've got ways to put multiple lands into play. As Cracker said, there's ways to return lands in this set. We've got a fetch land in Standard. In the name escapes me.
Fable Passage.
So I think you are correct in the aggro / mid-range, if this is the top of your curve at 4, it's not that great. But in the ramp strategy, you drop this on turn 3, you've got 28 lands in your deck, right? And ways to put multiple of them into play with Uros and Cultivates. You'd be able to fabricate a sizable army on turn 5 or 6, completely stabilize and take over the game against any sort of aggressive strategy. And it's an enchantment. It's difficult to interact with. Unless
there's a common black spell that does that now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to interact with.
But it's, people aren't going to be playing Wilt in their main deck generally. So yeah, this card jumps out at me as something that is absolutely worth exploring.
Yep.
It reminds me of the Siege set, the Siege cycle from the Karn's block.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they saw a bunch of play. And they were the same thing. They were 4-mana enchantments that had no effect.
But they triggered every turn, didn't they? Automatically. That was...
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
No, it depended. No, they had different effects based on... I just looked up Outpost Siege. And so Outpost Siege was at the beginning of your upkeep. You could have exile a card and you could cast it. Or you could make it whenever a creature died, you could ping a thing for 1.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much always played as a card draw thing. And that was on 4 mana that did nothing the turn it entered. So
yeah, but
I agree that this is more conditional. It's more conditional.
Yeah, but
sure.
We've got decks with 28 lands in them now.
Yeah. And I'm tipping that land count goes up as well with all the spell lands and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep. So that's where I think it could be good. Anyway, Shorty, you and I both had the same card on our little list of things we wanted to talk about here. So do you want to talk to us about Thieving Skydiver?
Yeah, I didn't really have any cards that jumped out at me, but I saw this one and thought it's pretty cool, probably more so in older formats, but it's, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Merfolk Rogue. It has Kicker of X, but it also says X can't be 0, and it has flying, so it's a 2-mana 2/1 flyer. That's a pretty good start. When Thieving Skydiver enters a battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. Now, the big thing with this is it's not gain control of it until Thieving Skydiver leaves the battlefield. It's just permanent gain control of target artifact. So you can take all sorts of things that cost not that much, and especially in older formats. You can play this for 3 mana and steal a Mox.
Soul Ring.
Or a Soul Ring, or all sorts of things. So I think this is probably going to be pretty good, and it's also got some good relevant creature types, being Merfolk Rogue.
And we've seen a bunch of equipment in this set as well.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of equipment that is, when it enters a battlefield, you equip it straight onto something. Like, you don't have to pay an equip cost. So, opponents will be playing equipment, so you can then drop this dude, steal that equipment, you get it straight away.
It won't equip for free, though, because it's not entering the battlefield.
Well, it does. It says if that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. So you get it anyway.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So Cracker.
Yeah.
I really want to steal a Skull Clamp. 3 mana, steal your Skull Clamp. I draw 2 cards.
Yes.
How good's that?
That's pretty great.
Yeah. So this one should be cool. I don't know where it fits or what it's going to do, but definitely a card to keep an eye out for, and see what it does. Stu, do you want to give us one of your cards?
Yep. So it's funny because original Zendikar is when I first came into Magic and absolutely loved it. I've got a whole heap of original Zendikar cards, but I have not given Zendikar Rising the time it deserves with all these spoilers so I've only really got one card at the moment that sticks out, and I don't know if it fits anywhere in any format, but I know it fits into my Breya EDH deck that I'm currently putting together. And that is Forsaken Monument. It costs 5 generic mana. It's a legendary artifact, and colorless creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for... What's that mana symbol? I'm still a
Colorless.
noob. That is colorless.
Generic.
No, that's...
Add an additional.
That's colorless.
Colorless.
Specifically colorless. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Weird.
Whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. So I really like this. Straight away, as soon as I saw it, I thought that goes infinite with Basalt Monolith.
It does. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't want to
Infinite mana
reveal
combos
anymore.
have never been a problem, have they?
But yeah, I've got some shenanigans that I want to put together with it, and yeah, I like the look of it. I think it's a cool card.
People will be
it works
tinkering
really
with
good.
this in modern Tron lists. I don't know if it'll make the cut, but people will try.
It's definitely going to get played in Commander, where you've got a lot of
Yeah, for sure.
mana rocks that tap for colourless and things like that. It also works with your white-bordered Shivan Reefs. When you tap your Shivan Reef for colourless mana, you also get an additional one. So just keep that in mind for all you white-bordered Shivan Reef fans out there.
All one of you.
All me.
But it's just a cool card. Like, colourless creatures you control get +2/+2 as well. So if you're loading up with Thopters from our mate Sai, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Cracker, do you want to give us one last card?
Sure. I don't know if this one's good. I'm not going to make any claims that it's the next whatever. It's called Leyline Tyrant. It's 2 and 2 red for a 4/4 dragon. It has flying, and it said, you don't lose unspent red mana as your steps and phases end. Then when Leyline Tyrant dies, you may pay any amount of red, and when you do, it deals that much damage to any target.
This card's good.
It looks like a lot of fun.
Look, I don't know if it's going to see standard play, but certainly I imagine Jack will demand one of these immediately for your Dragon's deck, Stu.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I haven't shown her yet, but I know she'll see it and go, put it in.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it's a mythic, because if this was a rare, it would show up in every single draft that you play and you'd get destroyed every time. So I'm glad they've made this a mythic.
So, like the unspent red mana, so does that continue through turns?
Yep.
Yes. It doesn't go away. So it's like
It's
the
same as
original
Omnath.
Omnath. And the thing is, you can use that mana at any point as well, right? It is just available in your mana pool. So it's kind of cool. I mean, obviously it incentivizes you to be, mono red as close as you can. It is going to kill the opponent. Look, the fact that it doesn't have haste is a little bit of a downside.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty strong.
There is an X spell that is one of the flip land cards, right? Like a red X. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we've got 2 cards and mountains. We can start building a big red deck now.
It's the kind of thing, like you play this, and if you get to untap with it, you just don't have to play another creature. Like, you don't have to commit anything else to the board. Like, you can either swing, just keep attacking with this and they don't block it, and just keep taking 4 in the air, and you just keep adding mana to your mana pool every turn until eventually they deal with it. So,
Or they don't deal with it. Can you then, in chunky red, can you main deck Witch's Oven?
Yeah, a sacrifice outlet.
Yeah, yeah, like with
Sack it.
you might be playing Claim the Firstborn. Oh, does that rotate? I'm not sure. Anyway, we're brewing now. We're brewing.
Yep.
So
Interesting card, and I can see someone's going to do some sort of broken thing with it. So, yeah, we're not going deep on the previews. They've been out for a while, most of them. You've probably already been through them, and plenty of other podcasts have sort of already gotten into those. So you don't need to hear us waffling on about those, and we've gone long enough as it is. So, yeah, this set will release on Arena in, pretty much a week's time on the 17th of September. So I think that's the 18th for us, and then in paper the following weekend. And with that release comes rotation. So this is something we get to enjoy once a year, and I think people have been looking forward to this one. It's probably safe to say there's quite a few cards that we've wanted to see gone, although most of them are banned now already, so maybe it's not as needed as we all thought. But
Goodbye, Nissa.
yeah, once this set drops, so we will be losing Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, War of the Spark, so the 3 Ravnica themed sets, and then the M20 core set, so core set 2020. So
everyone's mana base is about to get a lot worse.
Yeah. So we lose all the shock lands, that's a big shock to the format.
Oh, Chewy, is that you?
It's late. We've been going for a while, so I'm falling to pieces.
He's going to start saying a lot.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep. So when we see these rotations happen, obviously the format gets a huge shake-up because we lose almost half of the sets. Like we currently have 8 sets in standard. We lose literally half of them and we gain one more. So we go from an 8-set standard to a 5-set standard, and there's always a big shake-up. Now, we're sort of hoping maybe just to touch on the decks that are going to be dead and the decks that are going to survive, but we're going pretty long. But any quick hits on...
I have a general statement in that a lot of the cards we've looked at when we've been, previewing them, we're looking at them through the lens of current standard, because it's really powerful. Only when you've got 8 sets, only the really good cards make your deck. Card evaluation, go and check out that Evergreen series. But the format, the card pool in the format is getting a lot smaller. So cards like Leyline Tyrant, which might not be good enough to be played right now, might get a window before other sets start getting introduced in. So the standard should slow down and become like a little less powerful. So except for
Uro. Nothing changes for Uro.
we still have Uro, but we don't have the Sloth anymore. The
Boreal Grazer.
Yeah, he goes.
Yeah.
So we've only got 3 mana ramp spells, right? We don't have Gilded Goose. So Uro.
Yeah, we do still have
we still have Gilded Goose.
Oh, we still have Gilded Goose. Okay,
yeah, we lose Paradise Druid.
Yeah.
So some of the mana fixing, like the Elemental, the Leafkin Druid as well. So some of the ramp is going, but I think the biggest change is the mana bases are going to get weird. So there's decks like your adventure decks; they don't lose basically anything other than their mana base.
Lands. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is actually massive.
Yeah, you've still got your triomes, and then you've got the new dual face lands. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I think mono red is very, very drastically hit. That's been a pretty similar deck for almost the last 2 years. It's sort of changed a few cards here and there, but a lot of the really powerful stuff from mono red is going, and it's going to be sorely missed. I haven't seen a ton that's replacing it in the new set, so you might see a bit of a decline in the old mono red for a little while.
I don't think there's too many people that are upset by that. It'd be nice to play some ladder and not get paired against mono red for a couple of weeks.
All right, well, I think that's going to do us for this show. It has been a long one, and I've now got to edit it all, so we'll wrap it up there. Hopefully you've got something out of this episode. This has been a little bit rambling, but plenty to go through. So, yeah, as a reminder, we do have our historic event this weekend, this Saturday. So make sure you get onto that if you're not registered already, and grab yourself some free sweet prizes for that. And then our October League will be kicking off on the 20th of September, so make sure you are registered, get in on that, play the league, and get those all-important points for the Magic Beans Invitational that will be later on in the year. If you want to be involved in all the stuff that we do and get into those leagues, the best place to do that is through our Discord, so you can find the link for that in our show notes on our Twitter and all that sort of stuff. We do have a merch store if you want to show us some support. You can buy some sweet Magic Beans hoodies and t-shirts and things like that. Again, you'll find the link for that in our show notes. And we would love it if you go and check out Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. Snap up some sweet daily auctions and let them know that the Beans sent you when you get your information from Pat. You can find us on all the places. Just search for Magic Beans Cast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We are there in all those places. Come and find us. Give us a follow everywhere so you know what we're doing and you don't miss any of our content. If you want to find me, I am at Peace Inc. on Twitter. Chewy, you are?
At Chewy MTG.
Stu?
At Stewie.
And Cracker?
At JoelHill_.
Very good. So that will do us for this week. Thank you, as always, for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next time.
Roll the music.